The last box should have been the easiest to carry, but it became the heaviest moment of my life. I thought I was only helping my best friend's mother move out of the house where she had spent more than 20 years raising her family. I believed I would unload furniture, stack memories into cardboard boxes, and drive home before sunset. Instead, as darkness settled outside and silence filled the empty rooms, she looked at me with tears she had hidden for years and whispered the words that changed everything I thought I knew. She asked me to stay the night because she could not hide the truth any longer, and what she revealed would forever redefine friendship, family, forgiveness, and the meaning of love that expects nothing in return. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. I had known my best friend Ethan since we were 10 years old. We grew up riding old bicycles through quiet neighborhoods, dreaming about impossible futures, and promising that no matter where life took us, we would always remain brothers. His mother, Linda, became like a second parent to me. My own father worked endless shifts, and my mother passed away when I was young, so there were countless evenings when Linda quietly placed an extra plate on the dinner table without making me feel like a guest. She celebrated my birthdays when nobody else remembered. She encouraged me after every disappointment. Looking back, I realized she had always loved me with a quiet, selfless kindness that never demanded recognition. Life, however, rarely follows the promises children make. Ethan received a great job opportunity overseas shortly after college. At first, we called every week, then every month, and eventually only on birthdays or holidays. Distance slowly replaced the closeness we once believed could never fade. Linda remained in town, living alone after her husband passed away, never complaining, never asking anyone for help. She smiled whenever people asked how she was doing, even though loneliness had become the only permanent guest in her home. One rainy afternoon I received her unexpected phone call. Her voice sounded calm, but there was an exhaustion behind every word. She explained that she had sold the old house because maintaining it alone had become impossible. She asked whether I could help her move into a small apartment across town. I immediately agreed. It felt like the least I could do for someone who had given me so much without ever expecting anything in return. The morning of the move felt strangely emotional from the very beginning. Every room carried memories that refused to fit inside moving boxes. Family photographs had left lighter squares on the walls where sunlight had never touched. The kitchen still smelled faintly of cinnamon, reminding me of countless weekends spent laughing over homemade cookies. The hallway still echoed with invisible footsteps from years that could never return. As we packed each room, Linda paused often, not because she was tired but because every object carried a chapter of her life that she was quietly saying goodbye to. Throughout the day I noticed something different about her. She smiled whenever I looked in her direction, but the smile disappeared the instant she believed I wasn't watching. More than once I caught her staring at me with an expression that mixed gratitude, sadness, and hesitation. It was as though she wanted to tell me something but kept convincing herself that the moment was not right. By sunset the truck was finally empty. Her new apartment was modest but warm, with large windows overlooking a quiet park where children laughed beneath old trees. We arranged the furniture, unpacked the essentials, and placed framed family photographs carefully on the shelves. It should have felt like the end of a long day, yet an unusual silence settled between us. She prepared tea, but neither of us drank much. Outside, heavy rain began falling, making the roads nearly impossible to drive safely. As I reached for my car keys, she looked toward the window before quietly asking me to stay the night. She said the weather was dangerous, but then she admitted there was another reason. She confessed that she had hidden something for many years and no longer had the strength to carry it alone. The weight in her voice told me this was not an ordinary conversation. I sat back down, feeling my heartbeat grow louder with every passing second. She slowly opened an old wooden box that had remained sealed throughout the move. Inside were faded photographs, yellowed letters, and a worn leather journal. Her hands trembled as she explained that after my mother's death, she had discovered something my parents had chosen to keep secret. My father had lost nearly everything trying to pay for my mother's medical treatment. Pride kept him from asking anyone for help, and he silently struggled to keep food on our table. Without telling me, Linda had been paying many of our grocery bills, helping with school expenses, and even secretly covering some of our utility payments for years. She had convinced local charities and neighbors that the assistance came from anonymous community programs because she never wanted my father to feel ashamed. I felt my throat tighten as childhood memories suddenly made painful sense. The mysterious envelopes that appeared in our mailbox. The unexpected school trips I somehow could afford. The winter coat that arrived with no return address. My father had always smiled and simply called them blessings. I had never questioned where they came from. But there was still more. She handed me a letter written by my father shortly before his death. In it he thanked her for saving not only his family but also his dignity. He admitted that he could never repay her generosity and asked her to give me the letter only when she believed I had become the kind of man who understood that true kindness is measured not by recognition but by sacrifice. Linda confessed she had waited years because she wanted me to build my own life first, without feeling indebted to anyone. As I finished reading, tears blurred every line on the page. I realized the strongest people are often the quietest. The heroes we celebrate in movies wear capes and save cities, but the heroes who truly shape our lives often stand unnoticed in ordinary kitchens, quietly making impossible choices so someone else can have hope. That night we talked until sunrise. She shared stories my father had never wanted me to know because he feared I would remember him as weak instead of strong. Yet every story revealed the opposite. Strength wasn't pretending life was easy. Strength was continuing to love your child while carrying burdens nobody else could see. Linda reminded me that compassion grows strongest when it remains invisible, expecting no applause. The following weeks transformed my life. I visited her every weekend, not out of obligation but because she had always been family. I repaired shelves, planted flowers on her balcony, and filled her apartment with laughter that had been missing for far too long. I also reached out to Ethan, sharing everything his mother had finally revealed. He was overwhelmed with emotion and returned home sooner than anyone expected. Watching mother and son embrace after years of distance reminded me that time can separate hearts, but love patiently waits for the courage to bring them back together. Our small community gradually learned pieces of Linda's kindness through the people she had quietly helped over the years. Former neighbors spoke about anonymous grocery deliveries during difficult winters. Single parents remembered school supplies appearing on their doorsteps. Elderly couples recalled mysterious repairs completed without payment. She had become the invisible thread holding together countless lives, never seeking gratitude, never expecting recognition. Her story inspired many of us to begin helping others the same way. We organized neighborhood food drives, repaired homes for struggling families, and created scholarship funds for local children. None of us used Linda's name publicly because we understood what mattered most wasn't honoring one person. It was continuing the chain of kindness she had started decades earlier. Sometimes I still think about that final box we carried into her apartment. I believed it contained old papers and forgotten memories. In truth, it carried a lifetime of hidden love that had quietly protected me through my darkest years. Had she never asked me to stay that rainy night, I might have lived forever without knowing that some of the greatest acts of love happen in complete silence. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Corner, and share it with someone who still believes that kindness can change the world. Your support encourages us to bring more true-to-life stories that remind people hope is never lost. Special request: before this story ends, please leave a comment with the words, "Kindness lives on," if you believe even the smallest act of compassion can change someone's future forever. As I left Linda's apartment that unforgettable morning, the rain had finally stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting golden reflections across the wet streets. It felt as though the world itself had taken a deep breath after carrying years of hidden sorrow. I looked back one last time and saw her smiling peacefully by the window, no longer burdened by the secret she had carried for so long. In that moment I understood that the greatest inheritance we can ever receive is not money, property, or possessions. It is the example of a heart that chooses kindness even when nobody is watching. That lesson became the foundation of my life, and every chance I get to help another person, I remember the woman who quietly saved my childhood without asking for anything in return. Her secret was never about hiding the truth. It was about protecting hope until the day someone else was ready to carry it forward.